Ricky Reyes, what's up, bud? How you been? Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Podfluxxx, episode 9. And Rick, we got a little bit that we want to talk about this week, and then we got a little bit that we don't want to talk about this week. Called some of it on the fly. So just to get the intros out of the way, Kevin Fulton, Cuban Crippler, Ricky Reyes. Rick, what's up, man? How was your week?
It was all right. It was all right. A little boring, but terrible rain off and on here in San Antonio. But it's all right. Reyes is on vacation.
Oh.
So yeah, well, last week was his last week, and then he got his green belt. So now he spars and does full weapons training. So we bought him. He had to get a sword.
Okay.
Yes, a fucking sword. So he wanted the cool black one that was more expensive.
Right.
Yeah, but it was cool. So I was like, hell yeah, swinging it around. Let's get this one.
I'll show you how to use weapons.
Yeah. Here's what I used to do. So, yeah. So, and then he's going to do like a summer camp at his karate dojo. So he'll be there all summer. So
that's great. I also believe that there is a happy birthday due to a certain Mrs. Cuban Crippler in the household.
It's her and my mom's birthday is today.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so if I ever forget that, I get it from both ends. So that's always nice.
We had to write 2 cards today.
Yeah, signed twice.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's $50. No.
Yeah. No. Jeez. Probably more writing you do today than you do most of the year.
Right.
Jesus. Yeah. All right. So anyway, we've got a couple of things that we're gonna get through. So that we literally just called a second before I hit the record button. So what do you want to start with?
Well, let's go with the bad stuff and try to get as much AEW out of the way.
All right. So full disclosure to our listeners, viewers, friends, family. After the shenanigans of last week, I maybe watched a total combined of 27 minutes of wrestling this week. I needed to decompress.
Mm-hmm.
Decompose. Yeah, I'll decompose later, but I needed to decompress. So I caught a little bit of Raw. I caught a little bit of SmackDown. I caught a hair of Dynamite. What I did catch though was, because you know me, I'm heavy on these tweets. Like Ice Cube used to be heavy on these streets. So there's some stuff here I caught on the Twitter machine this week.
Yeah.
Like Dave Meltzer called the Blackjack Battle Royal from AEW Double or Nothing the greatest battle royal that he has ever seen in his life.
No, stop.
Bro, on my mama.
I'm going to have to unblock this nerd just for podcast research reasons.
Yeah, dude, because
that's the most ridiculous thing. I did not know that. I did see somebody released like his star ratings of the event.
Yeah.
Of the Double or Nothing, and all of them were very high. Wasn't there? Which one was 5 stars? Was it the Blackpool or Black?
Yeah, it was.
That was 5.
It was. I'll pull it up here in a minute.
It was 5 stars, right? With
there were close that were there. Yeah. There were matches. He rated matches on that card above FTR versus TNA, which was. You know, it's more of his way to try and go out of his way and make FTR look bad because they're associated with CM Punk, whatever. So, because that's what him and Alvarez do now. If you've gone out of your way to be like, oh, you know, Punk's a good guy, you know, they're running the Whisper campaign on you. So, Let's see what we got here. Anyway, I just had him and then I lost him.
He made it seem like it was one of their best pay-per-views they've ever had.
Yes.
Yeah.
They made it seem like it was one of the best pay-per-views they ever had.
And it was
So
not.
he gave the Blackjack Battle Royal 4.25 stars.
What?
Right.
I can't.
All right. He gave the World Tag Title match 4 stars. But then he gave the Elite versus the Blackpool Combat Club.
That thing too.
He gave it 5 stars, and he gave the World Title match 4.75.
What? Come on. There's no way. This guy's an idiot. I mean, what is his measure of like his star rating? Because I know like how Cornette.
Well, it's Cornette's system.
Right. I was gonna say like the way he came up with it was pretty cut and dry. Hey, this was better than I expected. Like that's like 3 stars. They had a really good match, was 4, and then there was never really a 5th star because it's almost impossible,
Right.
But when they do better than everyone expected, that was 4, So I mean, I don't even get it.
What I don't understand, right, is you've got years and years and years of being a quote unquote wrestling journalist.
Right.
You've seen Steamboat and Flair, or of being a Japanese wrestling. I don't know, what the Japanese equivalent of Steamboat and Flair is.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever it is, he's watched it.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like, why is he just lying?
Here's the thing. We all know like Meltzer's an idiot, and he's he puts out there what he wants and then words it like it's fact.
Right.
Then with stuff that he doesn't know, he likes to throw in plans could change, as of right now, as of this writing, he puts all these little, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but this is a catchy, this is clickbait, so I need to say something on it, so you'll check it. But the fact of the matter is, the crowd during that show, most of the show was just kind of sitting on their hands. Like I'm sure they all had moments, But
it didn't come from Dave, but it came from somebody of Dave's ilk.
Mm-hmm.
They're blaming the production crew.
On what?
That they had the sound too low and that the mix was fucked up. And that's why you couldn't hear the people losing their minds in the building. However, you could see the people on television not losing their minds in the building. So it is Vegas. It could have just been a very like ventriloquist heavy crowd where everybody was throwing their voice to the other side of the arena and the mics didn't pick it up.
What was that doesn't even it makes no sense at all. I mean, that's the stupidest thing I've heard about this. Like didn't even hear that until now, but that's the most ridiculous thing ever. Because what would be anyone's excuse when you pan out to the crowd and they're just like waiting for the next thing to happen? Like it's so stupid. It's like when WWE was trying early on to pipe in, reactions. And I think it was William Regal tweeted something like, the people can see that no one cares. Even he mentioned something about that they were doing it too much, that it was getting annoying even to him. And he works there, and you can hear like a roar from the crowd, but then everyone under the blue lights on a SmackDown show is just sitting there like waiting for this to end.
Excuse me. Is was today Dominion?
Yeah, last night or early this morning. Yeah.
Right, because I'm seeing that people are talking about Claudio had a travel issue if he was going to make it in time.
Yeah, they just moved his match back. They Kevin Kelly and those guys were actually I just got done watching the first half like an hour ago. They
Yeah,
were
how was
giving
it?
like updates. It was actually really good. I actually wanted to talk about it because it's it's a good example for independent wrestling promoters and wrestlers to uh, how to utilize a big show. So all their storylines advanced, uh, talent underneath talent got elevated. In multiple segments on the event. Titles changed hands, and then they meant something immediately. The title change meant something immediately. It was basically wrestling like how to book a big wrestling show 101, because now there's so many stories that just started from Dominion. Like you can't wait to see like what's going to happen next with like a handful of groups and teams and wrestlers, and then the announcement, which is the big G1 announcement of everyone that's in it. So it really lays out their entire summer, because the G1 will go till the middle of August. Which the G1 is in a lot of ways like the Royal Rumble. Like once the G1 is over, it's all systems go to Wrestle Kingdom.
Right.
So it was big.
Did they change the platforming on New Japan World? Because what was the New Japan the Strong show
Yeah.
from a couple of weeks ago?
Mhm.
I signed into my New Japan World account, and they were like, costs extra, and I was like,
So
hmm,
so the bigger strong shows are pay-per-views through Fight TV.
okay,
So that's, yeah, because there's some, but they'll release them match by match or like two matches at a time in the next couple of months. So, but to get it live or to get the entire event, uh, there's the bigger shows. They still do like the TV tapings, or worse, they were still doing like the regular TV tapings that you could get that weekly, but that's like an hour show.
right. But if
Yes.
it's not a Strong branded show like Dominion, would I be able to go on and get right through
Yeah,
my New
yeah,
Japan World
yeah,
today?
yeah. Yes, yes. Dominion's just New Japan.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's pay per
So
view in
Strong's
Japan.
got to deal with Fight.
Yes, releasing
Okay.
Strong, and then yeah, I think it's just Strong. I'm not sure if it's just New Japan as a whole, but I just saw that they're working together with on some way. But like Capital Combat or whatever they had in like Washington, like
Right.
that entire event as a whole is through Fight TV, and it's like you have to pay extra for it. So.
Did you see the Forbidden Door uh maybe card?
Well, I saw, so Osprey won and then grabbed the mic and did the perfect pro wrestling promo setting up Forbidden Door. I guess that's him and Omega too. And then Brian challenged Okada, but which I would imagine is Forbidden Door.
Yeah, it would
So
have to
those are
be, right?
it'd have to be. I was really hoping Claudio or Brian was going to be in the G1, which was a huge letdown. But
Yeah.
um,
Eddie
I mean,
Kingston in the G1?
yeah, so they announced Eddie, um, and then a young guy, the guy that I don't know if you saw the clip of that young blonde hair guy who kicked Okada in the mouth, and then Okada whooped that
Beat
ass for
the
like,
absolute
yeah,
shit out of him.
yeah. It was like
Bro,
Okada's like chucked his teeth, and he's like, "You die now," and then just whooped his ass.
I saw that clip
Yeah,
and I was like, "Oh, this is incredible." And
yeah,
then Okada beat the shit out of him, and then he fought back, and then when he was
yeah,
fought back. When he fought back, he hit that drop kick on the floor.
yeah,
And I was like, "Oh, okay, this is just wrestling." Like,
yeah,
I was into it for a minute,
yeah,
and then, like, sometimes when something like that is going and you're fighting, you're fighting. But when you're fighting and then you're like, "Hey, here comes this picture perfect wrestling move," It's like, oh, you're not really fighting. So like I was really into it while I was watching it, but the end of it was kind of a letdown for me.
Yeah, they still so they wrestled at Muda's retirement event at the Dome
Right.
in February. It was a pretty good match. But Okada kept teasing that he was like, just because Noah said I was supposed to be there doesn't mean I'm coming. And he like made it seem like I don't care what you guys say, I'm not coming. And then when he kicked him in the mouth, he was like, all right, I'm coming because I'm gonna whoop his ass now.
Yeah.
It was a pretty lopsided match.
What are the dynamics of the working relationships over in Japan right now?
Well, I mean, they're always hit or miss, and they're, you know, obviously they're a little short term. I think they did that one because it was for Muda's Keiji Muto's last. So the Great Muda did his farewell with Nakamura. I don't know if you saw
Right,
that.
I saw that.
Yeah. So that was the Great Muda's goodbye, and then this was Keiji Muto's goodbye with Naito at the Dome. But then on the undercard, it was kind of split. It had a lot of, like, not half and half. It was probably like maybe like 60-40 with 40 being New Japan guys, kind of trickled throughout the event.
And then what was wasn't there also a 6-man with Sting and Darby Allin or something?
Yeah, that was on the Muda's last
Okay.
event. Yeah, that was at the Dome for Muda. So that was produced by Pro Wrestling Noah, but had a lot of other guys. Yeah. So, but they'll have dream matches maybe throughout the year, and then they'll probably end it at some point with something. Right now, they're going to do that all together again event. I don't know if you've ever seen that. So when Japan got crushed by that huge typhoon, was it 2012 or something?
There was a tugboat joke in there somewhere, but this got serious, so I decided not to make it.
They had a huge event where all three companies got together and donated all the money to the families and the people that were, because it like crushed some part of Japan. I can't remember if it was the northern part or what, but
right.
So they did it, and it was called All Together, and I think it was 2012. And anyways, they're going to do another one, all three companies again. So it's just a lot of tag matches. It's kind of like one of those deals, but yeah, so they're good for now.
Yeah,
and someone's going to do something.
3 champions out there in the main event and go the distance, and
then someone's going to do or say something stupid, and then everyone's going to take their ball and go home again. So
right,
but
until it's convenient for everybody all over again.
Pretty much, yeah.
But speaking about convening for former New Japan wrestlers, so it looks like we're going to be rubbing Bullet Club Gold up against FTR.
Yeah, I saw that. That'll be an awesome match.
Yeah, it'll be probably one of the better tag matches that FTR can have. For sure. With the AEW locker room there.
Exactly. When I saw those guys were paired up, I thought, man, I hope it's at Wembley, because that will be an amazing atmosphere for that type of match, because they're going to go at least, I would hope, at least 20 and just get all kinds of emotional pops and epic,
Well, if they're on pay-per-view, they're going at least 30 minutes, because
I hope so.
Everything on AEW pay-per-view goes 30 minutes.
That's true too.
Which I guess in this case would not be the worst. But it's just like, I hope the angle's not stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they could muddy it up really bad instead
and then
of just
it'll take away.
It will take away totally, because just seeing them together, I was excited at what could happen. I'm not against the whole like singles match, 1 week and then singles with the other guys. I just want them to be short, not give too much, because I feel like sometimes AEW's TV matches go like way too long.
They all do.
Yeah, longer than they should. Like, if you got 2 hours, you're getting. I mean, in Lucha Underground, we were doing, on average, we were doing like 3 matches, in because you get, like, what is it, like 40? I think it's 48 minutes of TV time with every hour, like breaks and all that stuff. So I mean, maybe we did 4 once in a while, but uh, especially if they're just doing singles matches just to get us ready for it. I don't want to see too much, just
Right.
want to see the heels try to screw over FTR, and then, that's it.
Well, I mean, if you need to beat one of your tag team champions, they love to book Dax Harwood into single matches and then
Oh,
beat
yeah.
him. I don't think
Yeah.
I've yet to see Cash have one singles match
Yeah.
that wasn't against Dax.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. But even like you were saying, like the way they format their TV show is weird.
Yeah.
Right? They
Very.
start the first segment is a match, is the full segment, if not plus.
Right.
And then they do like a backstage promo. They do an in-ring promo, another backstage promo, and then they come back to a match that nobody wants to see.
Right.
So, but that seems to be like, what their format is, which is like they run heavy in the front and
Right.
then they load up these promos, and then it's an odd format, but I guess it's better than, start a match, go to a commercial, come back, go to commercial, come back, match is over, the Monday Night Raw TV
Yeah.
format, which is awful.
Yeah. I just feel like that, especially for as many people as they have, and for a lot of them not really doing nothing, that they could use all those guys and girls much better with, even if you shave off a couple of minutes off 3 matches, you can give yourself another match, a 6-minute match, and and really get somebody over with it. Um I don't necessarily want to see one-on-one matches with FTR and Bullet Club. I would prefer to see Bullet Club and FTR gain wins and get over more as teams, especially for Bullet Club, because here in America, like, they've never seen Jay White and Juice uh, team up a lot.
Right.
They've seen them individually. If you watch Ring of Honor, you've seen one a couple more times, but maybe Juice a time or two before, but they're not familiar with them very much. I think it should be, and obviously they're chasing them for the belts, so it should be them out there talking shit almost every other week, and getting wins, getting the crowd familiar with what they do. So by the time we get to Wembley with that, or I hope, I mean, is it going to be Forbidden Door? I mean, they haven't really, have they said where the
I
match is
think
going to happen?
I would like to see, because they've got Collision starting, which we'll get to in a bit.
Mm.
And then you've got Forbidden Door going to Wembley. So if we can get something like, if we can get a hot, their first match comes on, the first night of Collision.
Right.
You got some type of fuck, or,
Yeah.
and then they get a chance to get their heat back, or, they get a chance to bring it. If we can get a 3-match series out of this,
Right.
on 3 notable shows, the first
Right.
Collision is going to be a notable show. Forbidden Door is going to be a notable show, and you can kind of get away with it being that, Juice and Jay kind of represent New Japan.
Right.
And then if you can blow this off at Wembley, you've got an entire summer.
Right.
That's what Tony Khan, like, I feel like he doesn't get sometimes.
Correct.
He
does
can
not.
do this for FTR, so now he's got 4 less guys that he needs to worry about until September.
Right. Yep. And like, I mean, even beyond Wembley, because the next week we got a pay-per-view, so we can't forget about that, right?
So
Like,
you can totally,
your biggest pre-show ever in front of 65,000 people.
65,000 person pre-show.
Yeah.
Could you imagine having your show that is WrestleMania, right?
Yeah. Right.
It's like being like it's like putting Backlash on the week before WrestleMania in a bigger
Right.
building.
Yeah, exactly. Like Backlash filling up a stadium, and then we'll have WrestleMania at the PC again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so silly. Did you see what else they did on Dynamite this week?
What else did they do?
They did Bandito, Penta, and Phoenix against it was Moxley, Claudio, and Yuta.
The only thing I saw from this was Brian smacking the shit at a useless for like I don't know why he was like yelling at him.
Was that this week's or was that last week's? I don't know. Bandito was in the full body suit.
Yes, I
That was
saw a
supposed to be
picture.
like an homage to some Mexican comic book hero
Okay.
while they were in San Diego, but
Oh, in San Diego, yeah.
none of
Yeah.
my type got it. So we were all
Right.
like, why does he look like the $4 Flash?
Right. I was
Whatever.
wondering that. Okay. All right.
So Bandito, he does the big, long, stalling vertical suplex, right?
No. Okay.
All right.
I've
Well, it
seen it.
turns out homie's 5'7". I thought
Oh,
he
wait.
was
Yeah. When he did the suplex and then everyone came in and did other things.
yes.
Okay.
So he's got first of all, the first time I saw Bandito work was against Jonathan Gresham. So I immediately assumed that Bandito was like 6'2", but I was way, way wrong. So anyway, because when he came out in the bodysuit, I was like, oh, it's definitely Matt Jackson, and that's why he's covered up. Like I thought
Right.
there was going to be a deal there, but I was wrong.
Yeah.
And so he's got Yuta, and he's
Yeah.
got him up,
Right.
and they hit like 30, and then the other guys come in. So
Right.
Penta grabs Claudio and puts him in a deal right behind where Bandito's
No.
got Yuta. And then
Oh,
finally the crowd's like 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. And then he drops Yuta and himself directly on top of Claudio and Penta.
shut up.
Yeah. Like the guy's holding this guy up there for a legit minute. So I don't expect him to be turning around and looking
Right.
for a place
Yeah.
to land.
Yeah. We
You'd
clear?
expect the other guys to be like, oh, there's going to be a suplex here in 44 seconds.
Right.
I mean,
Let's inch our way left.
Yeah. So that was the only thing in that match that stood out to me was that they were just like, and of course it was Penta, like,
Of course. Yeah.
Didn't think enough about the dude in front of him.
Ironically enough, he's not thinking about other people.
Shocking.
Yeah.
But I guess it wasn't a spot, or it wasn't his spot, so it didn't
It
matter
wasn't his
to him.
spot. Yeah. So he could really care less.
Yeah. Maybe they'll fall on his head and he'll get the week off. So we might as well get to it. Did you see Tony Khan's announcement?
Yeah. I was curious on what is it because he wanted to announce it? Or because if you had, the announcement of the new show and everything about the show, and that we want to see the show, and the show is special, why wasn't Punk announced the week before?
I think that Tony Khan is starting to get Dixie fingers.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
He got on TV.
Cue Kevin Nash.
He liked it. He got back on TV. He liked it. This has been 3 weeks in a row now.
My favorite was that he announced that he had an announcement next week.
Yes.
Did you see that? That's when I thought the same thing. I thought, is he like Dixie Carter where he's like, I gotta say something every week now?
Right, like Dixie, but he already has daddy's money.
Yeah. But he's like, oh, next week
Yeah.
I have a huge announcement. Let's go to announcement by Tony Khan. Next week I have a huge announcement. So
Yeah.
there's an announcement about the announcement.
Do you remember when Dixie Carter was like, I've got an announcement that's going to shake the foundations of pro wrestling? And then it was
Yes.
like, here's Tommy Dreamer. And I was like,
Yeah. Yeah. Hardcore justice.
yeah. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh God. I get every time somebody says there's anything about the foundations of wrestling, I get really, really, it's almost like PTSD. I get nervous.
Yeah.
It's frightening because like it's I'm waiting for somebody to be like, like here's Tiger Ali Singh, and it's like no. But like, first of all, the way he made the announcement, like you could tell he wants to be on TV, but he's also very nervous about it.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't blink. His eyes only move to read off of what he's reading off of. And then it's like
he has that real nervous energy, like
yeah,
you can
it's like
feel.
CM Punk
Yes.
will be
Exactly.
on and then he's whispering like he doesn't
Yeah.
want his somebody to hear him.
Yeah.
It's like we'll be on the first episode of Collision.
Mhm.
Back to you guys. And then it's like they couldn't have done anything better. They couldn't have had Punk send like a video.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or like brought him someplace
Right.
and produced something where like just some random like do you remember the first All In when they showed the Wardlow video?
No.
All right, it was like Wardlow and his girlfriend or whatever the fuck were like walking through a parking garage. And these four guys stepped up like they wanted, they were going to harass her and they wanted beef. And he decimated the four of them in the parking lot. And then it was like Wardlow coming soon. And then,
Right.
he got there and his character was nothing like that. But that's,
Right.
Besides the point. Like, they couldn't do, like, just, like, some type of video where, like, you see a guy, like, falling. And then, like, his face contacts a knee. And then you back up and it's Punk and it's, like, the collision logo. Anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything.
Because
it should you get about, like
it should be about the wrestlers, not about Tony Khan. But
out there in the same outfit he was wearing when he made the announcement on the same set, that's just a CGI set, and with no like,
That's what makes me feel like it's a Tony Khan thing. It's a need for him to do it. So he wanted to like make it seem as if I'm giving you this. You didn't like that we're having Collision without somebody. Well, guess what? I'm giving it to you.
Yeah.
It's about me giving you these things. Yay for me. It really is. It's starting to become.
I brought back CM Punk.
That's exactly what I mean. Like it's centered around him because like how many times again does Vince play on Twitter? How many times does Vince pop up on the screen to like, randomly make random announcements? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's just to be on screen. And that's, this is very Dixie Carter-esque where it's just more about when they turn around in the back and everyone's like, good job.
Yeah.
It's like, man, you're doing it all wrong. Like, yes, it would have just been better to have him in the past 9 fucking months that he's being paid $5 million to say, hey, let's get some smoke, machines and some cool lighting. And can you just knee someone in the face real quick and then make a mean face? And then boom, we're done. Like, I mean, it should have been about Punk. Punk should have been just like everybody else announced at when the show was being announced, because he should be like everybody else. Now you're almost making it worse for him by, hyping just him up all on his own. The people that already don't like him are going to have this as fuel to their fire. Like, oh, this fucking guy, you got to make a big deal about him coming.
Yeah.
And then, you got a whole nother week of what were the reactions. That's all I saw after it, right? Was half boos, half cheers. People
Well,
love
the volume.
Yeah. Well, of course we were having problems in the building, I know. But the idea that half the people liked it, half the people hated it is irrelevant because they all reacted to it.
Right.
That's what everybody's gonna not look at as the big factor is he's a mega star, whether they like it or not. There was huge reaction, whether you liked it or not. But that goes to their awful ticket sales, once they announced all the buildings and for the collision tapings. That, I mean, who knows what kind of conversation and when that conversation came about, when Tony said, hey, you have to come back. Like,
I was dying for Tony Khan to fuck up and say vagina Canada instead of
Yeah.
Regina.
Yeah.
Listen, if
he paused.
Yeah.
He's like, Regina. Yeah.
High five somebody off screen.
Yeah. We did.
I can understand is when this whole thing blew up with Punk and the EVPs.
Right.
If Punk would have went on Twitter or something the next night and would have been like, you know what, fuck these motherfuckers, I'm never coming back to this fucking place, this, that, the next thing. And then Tony Khan did some like slick talking and businessman shit and got this thing taken care of within 5 days. I can understand him coming on TV almost looking for the ticker tape parade. Like, look what I fixed.
Right. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, then he would deserve, like, you just brought the notoriously most cranky, individual in the wrestling business,
right.
Off his soapbox and got him to do what you needed him to do. Congratulations. Right. Here's your kudos.
Right.
But there have been children born since the last time CM Punk was in AEW.
Yeah, I mean,
it's been literally 9 or 10 months, and there's been multiple times where he was ready to walk back in, and Tony Khan allowed for other people to fuck that up, and nobody else got any repercussions off it.
And what are you going to do this time in the same building for the quote-unquote same returning wrestler that is going to be anything better than you did the first time?
Right.
I almost think you shouldn't even do it, that it shouldn't be built up that way. But of course, they're going to do it that way. They're going to build it that way. It's not the second time around's just not as sweet as the first. We all know the whole deal. The first time
it's got to be a match.
Yeah, the first time it happened, it was okay. It was, it was great. Everyone enjoyed it. That enjoys that stuff and that moment and everything else. But what are we doing? You know what I mean? What are we doing?
It's got to be a match because a promo.
It has to be.
That's complete retread, right? That's reboot. That's sequel. That's retread. It's got to be a match.
It has to be.
Music needs to hit, and he needs to have a fucking. I don't know if it needs to be a classic match. I don't know if it needs to be a banger. I don't know if he needs to, grab a job guy and put him over his knee in 7 seconds. I don't know what the match has to be, but it can't just be a promo and it can't be fucking ice cream bars.
No, what it needs to be is it needs to be Taker versus Cena at WrestleMania. Come out, hit the greatest hits, make everybody happy, and then you
play the music twice.
Play the music, or if it's got to be a promo, it's got to be, I'm here, we're here, let's do this. It's got to be a big, giant, rah-rah speech to get everybody on board for this show.
Then does
Because
nothing fall from the ceiling.
yeah, because if it's gonna be anything special, it has to be different than what they're doing. And he has to, the format, the matches, the talent, all have to be on board and be working for the same cause. Because the other guys are doing it for themselves and what they think is right. And then this show has to be what's right for pro wrestling and everyone that believes in that. So it doesn't need to be a long back and forth. Punk doesn't need to get his ass kicked for sympathy. He needs to go out, hit his shit good, and let everyone know that he's back. Because that was the best match that Taker had in years when he worked Cena, that WrestleMania. And it was probably one of his shortest WrestleMania matches he ever had. And go back and watch it. And Cena just bumps and sells and gets Taker over even more, it's just crazy to actually think about. But he just re-shined him back up. That's all he did. And people are like, fuck yeah, Taker, hell yeah, he's back. You want everyone to feel like, yeah, he looked great. He's back. That's it.
Did you ever see the behind the scenes footage of that match?
No.
Where Taker, I guess, when he got there and he found out it was going to be like a 6.5 minute match.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I've been training 8 months to go 35. I figured. He's like, I show up here and they're like 5 minutes. And... All right, but hey, since we're on WWE, a little bit of Night of Champions fallout. Nothing really too crazy because only one thing really mattered after Night of Champions, and it was Seth Rollins was the champion. However, it took them 20-something days to break their brand extension.
Right.
Which, you know what? I don't even really care that much about it. Wrestling fans on social media made a big deal about, well, how come AJ's on Twitter? This makes no sense. They've got a guy the night before with an exploding fucking Nike, and they're worried that AJ Styles, right,
has just ruined wrestling.
Wrestling is ruined because AJ Styles is supposed to be on the blue show, and he showed up on the red one.
Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch. I don't know. I tried with Raw this week, but it was it was too slow paced. I got out of the AJ and Seth promo, and I was like, well, let me go see what my family's doing. And everybody else was sleeping, and I was like, that looks good.
Yeah.
So I tried some of that, and it was way better than Raw.
Oh, sure.
Did you catch anything news or noteworthy from Raw this week?
No, not one thing. I forgot all about that it was on. So when I scrolled through Twitter, things were popping up, and it just seemed like a big, huge throwaway.
Yeah. They know how to follow a pay-per-view with a real dud over there, huh?
Yeah, they do. I assume everybody's just tired. They're just like, yeah, just go out there and do something.
What about SmackDown? What'd you catch from SmackDown this week?
Just the belt thing.
Yeah,
people crying or loving, whatever. I didn't even see. I saw a picture where the Usos in the ring with Roman at some point.
Okay, I didn't catch the whole deal.
Okay.
I saw some Twitter, and then apparently, from what I gathered from the Twitter clip, was like Roman brought Jimmy and Jay in, and it was almost like when the mafia boss is saying goodbye to somebody that he loves before they get whacked.
Yeah.
And there was a hug. There was an exchange of family words. We were like brothers, stuff like that. And then Roman turned around and Solo just started spiking motherfuckers.
Ah, okay.
So, hang on. Yeah, Thea. We're getting a run in here.
Uh-oh.
It's like.
Wait. What could you say that again?
Can you stop talking because from like through the wall, it's like. And it won't make me sleep, and I can't sleep.
All right, I'm gonna try to be a little quieter. Okay. All right.
Can you stop talking?
You know this house you pay for?
Yeah.
If you could just stop talking in it.
You could just shut the fuck
I'm
up.
trying to sleep.
That would be great. We're
Yeah.
sleeping.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing. The belt, I'm pretty sure that's not gold on the background. I'm pretty sure it's spray painted. I swear to God, I saw a replica picture on the internet today.
Yeah.
And you can still see the black around like the backing of the stencil.
They did one coat. They haven't followed it up yet.
Yeah. So yeah,
that was all I saw. And I mean, at this point, that's
all
really
you need to see.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's really the only thing you need to check in on is how they're progressing this. And again, like coming back after a long trip, I'm sure everyone's just resetting. So hopefully next week it's better because that didn't seem like it was a good show either.
No, I mean, from what I caught, or was able to see on Twitter or whatever, there was nothing really happening on SmackDown.
And I mean, right now they're lining up challengers for each guy right now going into Money in the Bank. So that's what are we watching? Qualifying matches for another brand on brand joint pay-per-view again, so everyone's going to be together again. That was the other thing I was wondering, like, because of the brand split, are they going to do separate like brand only pay-per-views? I mean, since we're not really doing real pay-per-views anymore, so who the fuck cares, right? I mean, at this point, you might as well.
See, like that makes it hard for somebody like wrestling fans. People they're creatures of habit, right?
Yeah, but
I've been watching Monday Night Raw every Monday night since I'm 8 years old. Good, bad, and different. I watch Monday Night Raw on Monday because that's what I do on Monday.
Right.
I was already a teenager when SmackDown came about. SmackDown jumped channels and shit like that all the time, networks, times, whatever. I never really got with it.
Yeah.
I realistically don't watch much SmackDown. So, like, I'm not going to watch a SmackDown pay-per-view. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I know, but what I'm saying is there are fans that like one or the other. Like when they did the certain brand pay-per-views, I think when they very first time they started doing the brand split, they were doing that. And I mean, it's just another wrestling pay-per-view after you get through what color the setup is. So
yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying is like, I didn't really know what the stories were.
Yeah.
So I would be super cold going into one of those. And then it's a 3-hour pay-per-view of shit that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
So if they're Raw and SmackDown together, then I feel like that's the best bet.
Well, they're going to be at least until, I mean, I don't think they're going to do that, but I mean, the next couple, because it's Money in the Bank. So are they just doing one ladder match for each male and female?
They've got to.
Or should we just do 4? Because Dixie would have us do 4.
Yeah, everything would have been a ladder match.
Tony would announce that announcement's coming this week for Dixie.
Yeah, like Lethal Lockdown, where everything was in a cage.
Sure, why not? We set it up. Leave it out there.
We can't get it in or out of the building fast enough, so everybody's just gonna have to be in a cage. Okay, which brings us to Rick. Last week we were talking about like the way the Jimmy and Jay, how the moment feels real for them.
Yes.
And we talked a little bit about a moment or two that has felt real for us. And I wanted to kind of go back to that and see if there are any other moments that you had in your career, or like that you watched, like you were part of but not part of, you know what I mean by that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like for somebody else that was special to you. And I thought, we don't do a lot on our show of, trading war stories or whatever. So I thought this would have been a cool opportunity to kind of like go through some of that. So what do you got? You got anything?
I mean, like moments on shows that I was there to watch where, I was on the show, but while I'm watching it, I'm realizing this is special,
Yeah.
The first one that pops up is when Kobashi and Joe wrestled each other in Manhattan.
Oh, you were there for that.
Yeah, I had a match. It was like I was just doing squashes at the time where I was beating guys like kind of quick. So I had like a really short match, and I remember I got dressed, and I like the whole day was kind of crazy because Kobashi was in the United States, for our show. And I remember Joe had taken like a red eye from California to New York, so he was like, he's kind of out of it, trying to like rest as much as he could, and I'm sure clear his head as much as he could. But it was just cool because I got to the building like I do, got there pretty early. They were just finishing setting up everything. And then like a whole group of people just came in like in a big swarm. And I was like, oh shit, he's here. Like, and you get like nervous. You don't know what to do because of who he is. So I was just in the ring warming up, doing, moving around a couple of the younger guys because I was practicing at the school, the Ring of Honor school at the time. So we were just kind of going over like little things. And then he wanted to see the ring. So he came out, kind of ran the ropes, checked the ring out, see what kind of condition it was and stuff. I don't know if he thought, oh, I'm booked on some random independent, like, what is this, so he's looking at it like, well, let me go see if it's even safe to be out there type thing. But yeah, so that whole night the energy was like way high, like really, it was crazy because from the first match, like Ring of Honor crowds, when, at least in those years, 2004 ish, the crowds were pretty hot because we didn't visit that state, very often. So we were in New York City, which is always a vocal crowd to begin with. But I remember everyone that came out was a superstar. Like they got everyone got huge reactions. So I remember I came out, and that was one of the first times like I got like a babyface reaction in New York. And then from that point on, I remember I was getting kind of a babyface reaction every time after in New York City, at least, because I think that my, working relationship with like Homicide and Low Key, like I had officially become like, oh, he's part of the clique that we like or group that we like.
You got the hood pass.
Yeah. So I had, my street cred went up, and in New York. So it was fun because whatever I was doing was what they wanted to see. Like they wanted to see people get their ass. It turned into like, hey, he's just like the other guys we like, he's an ass kicker type. So anyways, I went out to a huge reaction, which I was like kind of shocked. And then so pump me up for my match, whatever. We have the quick match. Unfortunately, it was like a quick squash, whatever. But I remember staying in the ring, and everybody was like, man, that was the first time I saw like emotion out of you and everything. And that was because I was feeding off them,
Right.
I mean, they were all there. It was a Hogan Andre situation. They were all there to see one thing, but they were amped up all night, and that was cool. So like, and then Joe's a good friend of mine, so I'm in the back with him, as he's getting ready, and I'm not like, come on, Joe, you can do this. Like, I'm not doing that by any means. I know Joe, and I know what that meant to him, because I could imagine what it would mean for me, you know.
Mhm.
So I got a chance to like just stay by him, you know, like if he needed anything, I was gonna get it, like help stretch him out a little bit, whatever, he just wanted to move, so we were in the back just kind of moving, and then you just kind of want your friends or people close to you around, like sometimes you just want them around just to give them that look of like, like let's do this like
Right.
together, so it was a cool night because I will never forget, like the bell rang, place went nuts, and Joe shot a leg kick and hit Kobashi, and he backed up and he like stood up real tall, and the whole fucking place erupted, and I was like, here we go, like first shot fired.
I gotta rewatch that.
Yeah, it was cool because I think they were like Kobashi wanted to do the hand fighting, like tug and pull, and Joe just shot off a leg kick, boom, and Kobashi stood back like, oh, we're gonna do that, and it was pretty awesome. Yeah, and it was cool. I mean, that was one that I was at least a part of, but like, I mean, the curtain was sold out. Like
Yeah.
we didn't have a monitor in that building. That was the smaller, I don't know if it was a Manhattan Center, but it was a really small one where they had to put like the boards and everything and the poles in the elevator and go up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a really, really small building. So
the big room there is the Hammerstein, right?
yes, but this was the small part.
Yeah.
So we got dressed upstairs. So there's like a balcony area, and then we just had curtains, and people just yanked those fucking curtains, and the whole locker room's like hanging over the balcony, just watching, because like we weren't gonna not watch this, this happen. And yeah, so it was that would be one at least that I was a part of, but not a part of. But and also like in a similar fashion, do you remember when we had Shane Douglas came to VPW? I don't know if you remember.
Yes.
Do you remember Vinny? It was Vinny and Tibbs for the belt. I don't know who won, but
it was Vinny. That was going to be one of the moments that I wanted to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Because I purposefully did not look at the card that night.
Okay.
I knew they were having the match. Right.
Okay.
This was while I was out for my knee surgery.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you wrestled on it.
Right.
Right.
And this was after the ACL.
Yeah. Yes.
So I wanted to just sit because I knew they were gonna tear.
Yes.
And so I didn't want to know what the outcome was gonna be.
Right. Yeah.
And I was almost half-assed convinced that Kevin was still gonna win.
Right.
Because I thought they would have done the title change in Center Reach. And so when they did it there in Deer Park,
yeah,
I remember the finish. Vinny came out of something and he hit the one super kick, and Kevin took it to the knee.
Right.
And the next one, and then Kevin went down, and then he hooked him. And I don't think the people were expecting it either.
Right.
When I think it was John Q, when he hit 3, the place blew, and it was dark in there, and it was packed, and it was loud.
Packed. I was sitting with Shane Douglas.
Okay.
Like he was at the table, and I think we were talking like right before the match. May have been like an intermission or something or whatever. I just knew, I was like, man, I got to go talk to Shane Douglas because he's the man. So just wanted to ask whatever. So he said like, well, where do you train at? And then I was like, well, I train with these guys, and then he's like, yeah, it's been a fun show. And then I kind of went over the whole, like, we kind of, the product that we put out is wrestling first, like just pure. It's all about what happens in the ring. We're not heavy on gimmicks. We're heavy on the wrestling part. and he was like, yeah, kind of putting it over, like, yeah, man, it's great, like, the guys work hard. And I'm like, yeah, everyone works really hard. And I was like, the main event is what we're all here for, though. And then he was like, that's how it's supposed to be, that's the draw, the house, and I'm kind of just listening to him, like, he just got so excited for it. And I think they did like a hit down a spot at some point, and I think it ended with Kevin's like running knee to Vin, and I think he took like an inside out on it, and Shane Douglas was like, fuck yeah, that's wrestling, fuck yeah, and he's like cheering, and the crowd is like, I mean, you couldn't have written the crowd any better. Like, if it was, the crowd just came up and was like jumping and everything, and I was like, holy shit. And it was just like one of those times where I was like, my God, like it made me mad because I wasn't out there doing it myself.
Right.
Like that, I was literally like, and then the other part of me is like happy for them, but mad because, I want to do it, and it's just like, man, that night, that I talk about that when I do seminars and stuff. When I try to tell guys, if you take your time in the beginning, you can do the quote unquote old school, hook them, get them to give a shit and care about you, who you are. And then everything that you do past that comeback, they'll be hanging on every move.
I feel like I remember he flew Shane Douglas right into the locker room after that match, or he might even have met them on the stage coming through.
Yeah.
But
I went to you. Yeah. He wasn't on the stage because I went to the stage.
Right.
I went behind the stage, and I remember Vinny coming back, and the entire locker room was like at that little door at the bottom of the stage. Like all these idiots are crammed in there like sardines. So I stood way back on the stage, and he split that bitch like the Red Sea and walked right up to me and goes, how was it? And I was like, I think you know how it was. I was like, they seem to like it. And then I just pointed at the crowd, and he was like, all right, cool. And then he just turned around, and everybody was like jumping all over them. And then same thing with Kevin, I didn't go back there. I went back there to high five them and like tell them it was awesome. I didn't go back there for anything else, but they felt a need to come ask, like, how was it? And I'm like, I would tell you guys 10 million times. The crowd will tell you how it is. You don't have to ask anybody else,
And then another one that was big for me. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you and me did that one cage, that was big for me because I know that Johnny 5 didn't want to go with me.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, no, this is the move to make, which was, important, meant a lot to me, and that was special to me. But the first cage, the 8-man, War Games cage, like that was our like first, like, where do we put these people kind of crowd. And the people who were on the top of the card then felt some type of way about us being in this main event.
Yes.
And us being in the first cage match there.
Yep.
And it made me feel special to know that we were doing it and they weren't. And their run at the top of the card was about to be over.
Yeah.
And but I mean, just the way all of that whole storyline was set up and then set in motion, and then like I was the first person to step foot inside, right? Because it was JD and it was me, so we were the first two people to step foot inside of a cage in VPW.
Right.
And I remember we were banging, and you guys, you're on the outside. Slow down. And I couldn't help it. And, but it was just like the whole vibe, the whole way that match went with Kevin coming out and then re-injuring his ankle and getting taken away and then coming back for the thing. Dude, it was just for an 8-man clusterfuck. It was beautiful. I remember like when I did the Giga Maru, you came over and you grabbed me and you were like, it looks good. Let's find a camera. And then we walked around and looked for a camera.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was special. That was a special night. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was early on too when cuz like I was never big on, I don't know, trying to take control of my own stuff, you know. I thought like that I should just, you know, what do you need? Let's do it, you know. And then my job was to do that to the best of my ability, you know. But like I said, once I went to Puerto Rico, I had this new confidence, like with listening to like a guy that knows so much about wrestling, like Carlos, or like I did with Chavo and Lucha Underground. A lot of times I'm just comparing notes, really. I don't say much like when I'm around those types of guys, you know, or anyone that's higher up on the food chain, you know. I just kind of get them going in a direction I want them to go in. And then mentally I'm just like, okay, I'm doing it right. Or, okay, this is, you know, this is my way of saying like, do I know what the fuck I'm talking about or not? Right. Because if I do chime in when they are speaking, it's why would you do it this way? You know, where do you go? Where does he go? Where does this go? So that's when I started pushing the issue with Sean right before that big cage match, because we had started training by then, and I could move with you guys, and there was never an issue of can they keep up. That was never the issue. It was placing everything in the right spots to make everything more meaningful for everyone. But what inspired that was when you guys were going out, you guys were getting these huge reactions, and it was like making me mad because I was working, you know, Flex or whatever the fuck his name was from Johnny Rods' school, and he gets no reactions.
Right.
And Sean's fans, they didn't know who I was. They weren't smart wrestling fans. So I wasn't even getting a reaction. By the end of my match, I would get a reaction, but I had to put 12 minutes of an ass whooping.
Work, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I'm thinking, I would tell Sean, I mean, there was like, I would say 3 shows where I pulled Sean aside and asked to work one of you, any one of you, like the 4 or 5 of you guys that were getting these huge reactions, but going out and having these god awful matches because you didn't know what you were doing. But then at the end, still getting a huge reaction, you know. And I'm like, Sean, you know, maybe I could work this guy again. Yeah, no. And I was like, well, Sean, like, yeah, they're not good. They're just students. Yeah, no. And I was like, well, you got me against this guy. He needs to leave early. So now I'm match 2.
Right.
You know, then these guys are semi-main because you don't want to put them last, you know, because you think the main event spot is for the good wrestlers, but they're getting the bigger reactions. So anyways, there was months where I would pull Sean aside and be like, man, did you hear that? Like these guys, you know, they got something, and yeah, I could do something. Yeah. I don't know. I don't want you wrestling with them. No, don't do that. And I was getting mad. So finally, like once I started.
Meanwhile, there were 60 people in his crowd.
Yeah, but that's what people don't understand is like by the time people got to VPW, we had already did all the hard work, you know. So when they would come in, you know, they're selling gimmicks and, you know, 400 people, you know, wall to wall, you know, and they're like, They're like, oh yeah, I'll come back here. Sure I will. Like, of course you will, bitch. Like we bled in that fucking ring for 6 months to get people to give a shit about this, and now you're gonna try to bring 9 buddies with you in the car to get them all on the show. It's like, no,
Dude,
it
that
doesn't
was
work.
another thing. Any place you went there, can you get me on that VPW show?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. All the time. And that was the thing, was I would tell them like, well, you got to come to practice. Like, because a lot of the guys were, not, they were wrestling a lot. That doesn't mean anything really, but they were not good. And any one of us was just going to eat them up, and they weren't going to do you any good. So
Right.
they needed to come train with us and understand what we were doing out there, because just coming in and trying to hit a few high spots and sell gimmicks, like that wasn't the point in it. And a lot of stuff that we had done for so long there was really tied into a big long story, that kind of kept going, and then, and then broke off and then continued, so we changed the story, but a lot like the bloodline situation, where it's still the same story, it's just kind of progressed. And, like when Eric joined us, and, that was a whole thing, and, and all this stuff. And then and then me and Eric were a tag team, and, we did so many different things with the same players, and, but that's what people don't understand. Like when I tell people about becoming a draw and making people care, I immediately think back to everything that we did, because that first cage match, how, like, we could sit here and say, hang our hats on it, like, yeah, we were a draw, we popped the house and everything else. Okay, and then what? Right? Where did it go?
Right.
Where did it go? It ran for as long as Sean continued.
Yeah.
He wanted to do it. That's how much it.
The seeds planted in that first story, we got another 4 years out of. Oh no, did we lose him? Did we lose him? Ricky? There he is.
Yeah.
That was a close one.
Yeah, sorry.
But I don't know if you heard me. I said the seeds that we planted in that story, we basically got another 4 years out of.
But yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I remember when I first started, the first time I went to VPW, I wrestled Vinny, and that was at Deer Park. And, it was a very small crowd, but there was just something there that I that I could feel like was going to be good. And then after I came back from Puerto Rico, I had all these new tools and all this whole new education on what we were really doing, right? Because I got to go work a territory, a legit last territory. I mean, you can say New Japan, but really like the old school, I was told, as champion, you lose on the house shows because it makes everybody happy and makes people believe that guy that challenged you that night on TV next week is going to win the belt, and then you dirty him on TV. So now you got, a qualified, capable challenger and a champion that has nothing but heat behind him, because when he does win, it's always dirty. Like, all this stuff makes sense. It wasn't just, win dirty and then Carlos walked away.
Right.
It was, well, what you should do is, and in that story and in that explanation was to do it dirty because, and then there was a whole nother story that followed, and so we all kind of just collectively put the parts where they needed to go, and then played the game, and it was, I don't know, successful for however long, but you could definitely see what it was, what it became, and then, and then so forth. And yeah, it was crazy, because again, going back to, like, when I started working there a lot, I had a lot of New York indie guys. Oh, why you work there? Oh, why would you go there? Why would you go there? And I'm thinking in my head, like, when was the last time you were there?
Yeah.
Like, so the one time you had an experience there, it wasn't to your liking, so now it's bad. Because what I was seeing was 426 people standing against the walls, buying everyone's merchandise. We'd have 45-minute long intermission
Intermissions.
because Sean is, has got so-and-so's selling gimmicks and the tables are full. So, we did what we were supposed to do, which was make people care, one way or the other.
Do you remember the night we did? It was we did me and Kev versus you and Eric at that random school somewhere.
Yes.
And me and Kev had just gotten that like 30-something brand new t-shirts that night.
Yes.
And we got steamrolled at intermission.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were so many people at the table that we couldn't tell if they were buying or stealing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it was just hand over fist.
Mm-hmm. Was that the Horseman weekend?
Yeah. Which that's an entire episode in itself.
That's its own podcast.
I wanna end this with, because we just talked about high moments for us or that we were involved with. What is like the most regrettable? Like you're in the back, you're calling your match, guy wants to do a spot, it's gonna be just the abysmal drizzling shits, but you went along with it anyway. What is the worst one that you can think of that you knew was not going to come off?
I'll tell you honestly, 100% what just came to my head right when you said that, and I wasn't in the match. It was when Kevin crushed his ankle at the ICW show, because I heard them calling the spot where they were supposed to catch that idiot that jumped onto him, and I remember him like looking and me looking like this is fucking stupid, and I would tell you guys, don't do the stupid shit. And he went out and did the stupid shit. And as soon as he came back with a broken ankle and it's all mangled up and, twisted the other way, I just looked and I was like, I'm not going to say anything. I wasn't going to kick him while he was down, because I was hoping that my disappointment and walking away slowly, shaking my head was voice enough for him. Yeah, it was enough. And it was, but I mean, for me, I don't, let guys do stuff, that they can't do. And maybe that Jack Evans where he flips a bunch of times, but I had told him, I said,
favorite gif,
if you don't open up, I won't be able to catch you. And he was like, yeah, don't worry about it. I said, I wasn't worried about it. I'm not. I'm telling you, you need to worry about it, because I won't be able to catch you, and he did it anyways.
And it was the human version of a fly hitting a windshield.
Yeah. So, I mean, that would be something that was like maybe out of my control that was going to happen regardless. But 9 times out of 10, I'm going to say, look, this ain't going to end well. We shouldn't do this. We shouldn't do that. This and that. Even on the Angelico drop kick, when I dislocated my shoulder, I told Chavo at catering, I said, he goes, you feel okay with everything? He like puts his hand on my shoulder and he's like, are you okay with everything today? And I said, no, I'm going to get hurt tonight. And he goes, don't do it, bro. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. So he grabs his like folder and stuff and starts opening up to our match. And I said, no, Chavo, you don't understand. I'm going to get hurt tonight, but it needs to happen. And I was like, I'm just telling you that this won't end well. And he was like, well, we can do something else. We can find. And I was like, no, he's going to do one or two.
You knew Angelico needed it.
Yeah, because we all needed it.
Yeah.
Lucha Underground needed it. Like this was the biggest. At this point, I'm already planning my exit from wrestling even then, because I'm thinking this will be something that the world will see forever,
Right.
And I don't know if I'm going to have another platform like this.
Yeah.
I have it now. I'm in it. We're here.
Let's go. Let's fucking go.
Yeah, we're just doing it. There was no question of doing it. There never was. And I told Chavo right then and there, I remember telling him, I said, one of two things will happen. I said, he's either going to break my ribs when he kicks me, or when I land, I'm probably going to fall on my arm or near my elbow and break my arm. And he was like, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. And I said, no, Chavo, you don't understand. I said, whether you write it in your book or not, that shit's going down. I said, because it's my match. And when I'm out there, we're doing what I say. Because all those guys, like, that was season 1. They all kind of joked with like me and Matt Cross about being like the old guys or whatever, because or Ricky Banderas, Mil Muertes, because we were all the guys that were like maybe 15 plus years in at that point. By the time we got to season 4, it was full on, oh, here comes the legend and blah blah blah, shit like that from them. And I never really thought of it, but we had Sammy Guevara, we had like all these younger guys in the locker room at the time, Penta and Phoenix. I remember when I met Penta and Phoenix, they were like, yeah, we used to watch you and Rocky at Arena Mexico when you came in 2003. We were selling masks in the front of the Arena Mexico. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, we remember all your matches. And he starts listing off the matches they would see us in. And I was like, holy shit. And I'm wrestling these guys, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, that was, it just needed to happen, but I knew what was going to happen. So when it happened, it wasn't a big deal.
Right.
If that is as stupid as that sounds, like I dislocated my shoulder, but I was like ready for it. Right. I remember when he hit me, I thought that shit didn't hurt. And then I fell down. I was like, why is my arm over there? And when I slid it in, it just popped right back in, and then by the time I got to the back, I was just like, all right, well, it's done.
On mine, I got outvoted 7-1. Okay. I'm telling you, I was the voice of reason on this, which was mind-boggling to begin with, but it was an FWE, and it was me and Kev and the Sensations, Brockwell and Sam Shields, against Vinny and Eric, and All Money is Legal.
Was that in that small studio?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're in the back, and Rockwell is like, I've got this idea. And I was like, okay. And he's like, let's do a Tower of Doom.
All right.
And we're like, okay. And then he's like, with all 8 guys. And I was like, this isn't going to work. And he was like, no, listen. And then he starts pitching it.
All right.
Okay. And he's like, so the 2 guys have 2 guys up on their shoulders. And then I'm up on the top rope. And then the other 2 guys come off to the side. So the 4 guys are trying to suplex me. And then 2 more guys come on the side. And they kind of like side rush and leg sweep the guys that are on the shoulder going for the suplex. And he goes, and then I take the bump. And I was like, no, this is not going to happen. I was like, this is just physically, it's absurd. Where's everybody going to go? We're all going to land on each other. Somebody's going to get hurt. This is ridiculous. Right. And I'm looking at Kev for Kev to be like, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And Kev's like, no, we can do it. And Vinny is like, of course, he's going to be one of the guys underneath holding the dude on his shoulder. So he's like, yeah, whatever, I don't give a fuck. And I was like, all right, I just want to go on record. This is a terrible fucking idea. And we go out there. We get to the spot.
Yeah.
Okay. It's time to go. We all land on top of each other, just like I predicted.
Yeah.
And Rockwell never made it off the top rope. So it was like a rib on all of us. We all did this ridiculous spot. And I'm on the mat, and I'm looking up, and he's still sitting up there. And afterwards, he was like, well, there was nowhere for me to go. And
that was in Sean's ring, too, right?
Yes.
Yes, a 16-foot ring.
Yep.
Even better.
Well, for me, That's
He would have went to
one.
the other turnbuckle.
Yeah. Because the best part is I was like, where are you gonna go? I was like,
Yeah.
there's nowhere for anybody to go.
Right.
We're
Yeah.
8 guys coming out of one corner. What are we doing? This isn't
Right.
gonna work. And I can't believe fucking all money is legal. They were like, no, man, this is cool.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm looking at Cooley and I'm like, and I'm looking at Vin. I'm waiting for somebody to make logic. Eric will do anything.
Right. Yeah.
And Sam Shields is like, he's like, I'm gonna be on the bottom. So I was like,
yeah. Some of the guys are just like, well, I'll be in a safe spot, so I don't give a shit what we're doing.
And then when I finally agreed to it, I was like, fine, but I'm gonna be one of the side Russian leg sweep dudes.
Yeah.
So I'll be off to the side. I'll take my bump and roll out of the ring.
Exactly. Away.
Yeah.
Try not to get none on you.
Well, listen. Speaking of trying to get none on us, we're an hour 25 in on an episode with no format. So I think we knocked this out of the park tonight. We got some wrestling this week. I promise I'll watch it so you don't have to. And we'll see where we get for there. But I know one thing, in that we will speak to you mother fluxers next week. So y'all take it easy. Ricky, you have a good night, bro.
All right, man.
Let me run the little deal. There's the deal.